All right, hello wine drinking people. We are back with more of what I've had to drink yesterday. Our good friends from Seven Hills Winery are in, and Casey McClellan, one of the pioneers of Walla and Washington State in general. These wines, some incredible values. I've been out to Washington State the last 2 years for the Washington State Wine Auction and made a lot of friends. And the people there are really down to earth and very approachable. I mean, we walked into the tasting room unannounced at Seven Hills Winery. These guys couldn't have been nicer to us. And just like everywhere else we stopped, not surprised to see personalities like Charles Smith in their tasting room, and just really refreshing. And this is an area. It's like Napa Valley was 20 years ago. You go out to Walla, a small farm town, and just incredible wines. I mean, great food too. There's the biggest farm to table movement in the country right now is in Seattle, in Washington State. So if you want to go out to wine country somewhere and go on a trip, I highly recommend Walla. It's a little bit of a drive from Seattle, 5 hours, but once you get there, man, it is like the Valley of Eden. I mean, incredible wines, incredible people, great restaurants, a great experience. We're going back next year in August if any of you want to come with us. Anyways, we started out with the Seven Hills Riesling from Columbia Valley. There's from 3 different AVAs, Willard, Snipes Mountain, and Evergreen Vineyard in this blend here. A lot of nice juicy fruit here, white peach and apricot, with hints of petrol, some kind of mineral notes that you get from Riesling no matter where it's from, it seems. And a good intensity on the nose, some fresh white flowers, lavender, kind of gardenia notes, with a note of honey there as well. Thick and juicy fruit on the tongue with that fresh apple and peach showing. Lively, tangy minerality leaves the tongue salivating for food. That tangerine and lime citrus at the end. Very good Riesling at $14.25. Like I said, great values. Everything out of Washington. Even the white wine. Seven Hills Pinot Gris. This is 100% varietal, bone dry from the Melrose Vineyard in the Umpqua Valley. And they've added another vineyard site in the Eola Hills also. They use a special yeast for this wine. Chanson yeast from Burgundy. Gives it a little more texture. The lovely pineapple, citrus aromas. It's got a broad mouthfeel too that gets a bit of oak here, but only a few months. A little touch of spice you get from that. And, Pinot Gris is a light varietal. You want to overwhelm it with oak. But really nice and juicy fruit on the palate. That pineapple, pear fruit, and white flowers, really fresh and bright, and light but very pleasant finish here. Very good little bottle of Pinot Gris, $15.75. All right, up next, the Columbia Valley Cab from 2011, and they do have some estate fruit, but they do purchase a lot of fruit. They make quite a bit of wine here at Seven Hills. They've been around for a while. And 2011 was a very cold year, the coldest year since 1993. So a lot of people had problems that, made riper style wines. These guys make very savory style. So, the fruit from this wine comes from Calypso, Ciel de Cheval, and other great vineyard sites. They made no reserve in this vintage, so all the fruit went into that. I don't think they made several of their wines in 2011. So this 2011 Columbia Valley really rocking, man. Some lovely cherry fruit, sweet tobacco spice, some pretty floral notes, kind of high-toned aroma, some clove and spice in there as well. They made 12,000 cases in this vintage, typically around 17,000 cases. So they just made quite a bit less and turned up the volume in terms of quality here. Very savory style of Cabernet, which I like, with some fine herbs and a zesty finish here. Excellent juice. And they didn't turn the price up, though, in this wine. It's still $25.50. All right, the 2010 Seven Hills Walla. 2010, also a very cool year. Made it look warm next to 2011, though. But these wines have excellent balance and depth. And this is really old, from an old block here, planted in 1980. Today they have about 243 acres. But the original planting was only 20 acres of Cabernet and Merlot, and they sold the fruit off to the Leonettis. They actually have the oldest plantings in the Walla area, but it's just a couple acres right in front of the winery there. 1997 was their first vintage. Oops. I'm sorry, 1998. They didn't have a license till 98 to produce wine. So 98 technically their first release. This wine, 2010, a lot of dark cherry and currant berry fruit with a good hand of fresh earth and herbs there. Cigar box spice, always 100% varietal. And in some years they do add a little Merlot to this wine, but most of the time that's the exception rather than the rule. Very intense wine on the palate. This 2010's had great structure, dark berry fruit, gaining weight as this wine opens up. An array of earths, dark spices, mocha, fine tannins, and a firm hand of acidity holding things really in place here. And this wine's needs a little bit of time, but man, everything in proportion. Most excellent juice at $42. Wow. All right, and the Seven Hills Ciel de Cheval from Red Mountain up next. And Red Mountain, the smallest appellation in Washington State, but everybody who is anybody has got vineyard land there, got juice coming from Red Mountain, one of the most distinct areas. Really kind of earthy, ferrous kind of note to the earth there. Really strong minerality to Red Mountain. This wine's a blend of 38% Cabernet, 33% Merlot, 16% Petit Verdot, 13% Cabernet. The second oldest vineyard in Red Mountain. Casey's been working with this vineyard since 2001, and this wine's got wonderful intensity here. Just a brooding bouquet, very distinct earthy aromas, as I mentioned before, to that black currant and dark cherry berry fruit with a dark cocoa, kind of a host of spice. Lovely concentration here, and freshness. You notice that on the nose as well. A big and chewy wine on the tongue with echoing that nuance from the nose on the finish. A good deal of that dark berry fruit, really pronounced minerality coming through even on the finish. This wine, a little bit dry on the end, but this wine needs a little bit of time on the second day, even better. And a remarkable number of different soil types also in this area, and not a lot of organic matter, so very, very poor, something that grapevines really love. Most excellent juice at a few dollars less than the Seven Hills Walla Walla, $39.75. And then the Red Mountain Reserve up next. They only made this wine 8 times in 2009, a much warmer year. These wines really rich and voluptuous. And they made this wine 8 times in 25 years. Wow. And they just make a small amount of it. There's only a few cases available here, even in the state of it. It's all in the state of Florida. All the fruit comes from Fred Arts' vineyard on Red Mountain. He's one of the pioneers up there, a bit of a recluse, but supposedly one of the best vineyard managers in all of Red Mountain. It's a really warm year, as I mentioned. So you have that warm, forward, and voluptuous dark currant cassis-berry fruit, a lovely toasty oak spice, tobacco, mocha, that distinct Red Mountain minerality showing through here. Really big and chewy on the palate with layers of red and black cherry fruit. Big, but still has that savory side to the finish, like all these Seven Hills wine. Layers of spice and earth. A really long finish. Most excellent juice. Maybe just a shade above the other wines at $75. Still, when you look at what other wines cost in this quality range from places like Napa, a relative value. That's what I had to drink with our folks from Seven Hills Winery. I'm your host, Andrew Lampasoni, signing off for the Wine Watch, saying, remember, always drink the good stuff first.